first session, we are going to discuss what is UX process and methods we are using in the industry, and then how to apply the UX design process practically to whatever the projects you get in the future. And then we are discussing about what is empathy and why is it so important in design thinking. So as I roughly mentioned last week, empathy building is really important. Whenever you get a project from a client, or if you working in a company, first thing you have to do is user research. So you have to interview a few users that you think that they will use your product as end users. So you have to interview them. Can be one-to-one interview. You can ask questions. It can be a question answers to the questionnaire that you are sending to email. So you have to get to know about your users and empathize. That is the best way to move forward with the UX project. Then we talked about user interviews and competitive analysis, and creating personas, and finally creating user flows. So those are the topics that we are going to discuss today. All right. What is your design process? How you start the design? So if you like, if I ask you this question, so I know some of you are already doing some of the design projects. So whenever you get a project requirement from the client, what are the processes that you follow in order to make it a final product? For an example, let's say the client come to you and say, I want this kind of a website within 1 week or 2 weeks. So what is your approach when you're starting off with this kind of a project? Chalana, what do you think about how you can approach it when a client come to you and ask you for a design within few weeks? How about Chamara? Anyone can answer. Ratnasekara, how about, yeah, Jeremy, go ahead.
Getting all the requirements from the customer first.
So what are the requirements that you are looking for? Let's say this
Uh,
is a website designing project.
yeah, I'm asking what are the things to be included in yeah, like home page and how many pages you need and what are the buttons they need like sometimes uh, they need online pay button like that.
Okay, all the functionalities they require, right?
Yeah, the
Okay.
function.
So are you going to ask about end users? Are you going to ask about target users?
Yeah.
So that is the first thing that you should ask. Who are your target users? What are the audience that you are targeting? So in that way, you can do research about those users and come up with a better design. So that is roughly what you should do first. But there is a process that you should follow. Anyone else? How about Sasanka? What is the normal process you follow when you get a project requirement?
Well, once I get the project, once I talk to the client, I would say that I would do the research about the particular uh, company and find the key points and use those as the base design method. And from there, I will do the required needed information that they need for the website. So whatever they give me, I will do the needful. But first, I would say I would take the key points and understand the company, what's their who they're catering for, and what's the purpose and all that.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Samara, how about you? Ruksha? So what is design process? So this is actually applying to any creative project that you do. A creative project can be a graphic design project, video editing project, or even UI and UX design project, web design project, or anything. So it is the same process, but in UX designing, these are the steps that we have to follow. What is UX design process? The UX design process is an iterative step-by-step methodology UX teams use to complete projects. So it is an iterative process. So it is not a linear process. You can't say that you start off with empathize and finish off with the testing of the product. So you have to go back and forth and to the each step, and maybe you have to gather feedback and you have to then redo the particular page to optimize it further and go back and forth during the whole session, whole process, the units. So the first one is empathize. In empathizing process, what you have to do is you have to interview, you have to understand your project requirement first. So you can get on a call or you can visit your clients and get an idea about their company and then their competitors, how who are their main target audience and everything. So target audience is really important because we are designing or developing the product for the end user, not for the client himself. We are designing it for the user. So user-centric design, we call it. So in this particular scenario, you have to first think about the users. So users-centric design is something that think about the users throughout the process, throughout the UX process. So empathizing means that you can interview these users. You can ask questions about their day-to-day life. How are they, let's say this is a mobile banking application. So you can understand about their spending habits, how they pay mobile bills, how they pay utility bills, how they transfer money. What are the other applications they are using? Are they physically going to the bank to do transactions? Are there any competitor applications that they using currently? What are the good things about that? What are the bad things that we can eliminate in our application? So those are the questions that you should ask in the empathize process, and then you get a better idea about your end user, and you can do your designs accordingly. So it will match the requirement of your end users as well. So let's say if you don't understand your end users requirement and you don't have time to interview your users and you just start off designing with the requirement that you get from your client. So when you launch in your application, there will be so many problems. So you're developing an application for users, but users' feedbacks or users' perspective are not collected throughout the process. So users will reject your application. So you may have to do the whole process again. So it is a good practice. It is must to involve with your users, get their feedback even from the beginning of your UX design process. So empathizing is get to know your users, and then we define. So all these things that we collect, so details about our users, competitor analysis, and user requirements and everything, we define them in a defined statement. So what we do is we uh, create a documentation, looked-in documentation with all these details. We create personas for different users. Persona creation, we are going to discuss uh, in more detail in the end of this lecture. So in persona creation, what we do is we can't interview all of these users. Let's say you are developing a banking application and there are about 100,000 users, end users that you have identified. You can't interview all of these users in a limited time period. What you do is you select random users, let's say 10 users with different backgrounds. One user can be office worker, another user can be a student, another user can be a mother uh, and entrepreneur or whatever, freelancer. So you can interview these users and understand their requirements. Their requirements can be big. So for an example, the freelancer want to withdraw some US dollars and he want to know the conversion rate, the exchange rate of the dollar. And for the person who works in executive or a finance company, they just want to send salaries to their employees. And so the requirements can be different. So you create a persona with these requirements. I will roughly tell you what persona is. I take this for an example. So first thing you have to put an image. It can be a stock image, but it should represent that particular user's background. So you can put all these information, the age, occupation, status. So we have an idea about his uh, personal details as well. And some of his qualities, practical, adaptable, spontaneous, active. And we can risk his motivations by asking few questions. And we can list down his personality type and uh, add some motto, what he said about the application, what he said about his daily life, something like that. And we list down the behaviors and habits, goals and needs, and frustrations that he is facing when try to do a particular task when we ask him questions. So those are the things that we should include in our user person. So we kind of have to create about 10 to 15 persona. So it will give you better understanding about the users. So empathizing and define. And after creating these personas, there are some other sets as well. You can create user flow diagrams, affinity diagrams, which we will talk about in the coming weeks as well. So the definition process and then ID. In ideation process, what we do is we create wireframes for different scales. So we gather data about different users. We understand their user flow. So let's say, for an example, the use case is to pay a mobile bill through a mobile banking application. So the steps they have to follow is they first have to download the application, then they have to sign up, then they have to maybe verify their account by putting on the OTP code or whatever, and then they are in their account. So in the dashboard, you can have several buttons for send money to particular user, pay mobile bills, and so on. So they have to go to this pay mobile bills section, and then they have to create uh, his own account. Let's say he's trying to pay his own mobile. First, he have to select the mobile service provider. Let's say he's selecting dial, and then how much money he has to pay for this particular month. So they have to enter that particular amount, and then finally they have to click on the pay button. So it will deduct money from his savings account, and it will pay the bill, and he will receive the confirmation via confirmation screen or SMS message from the bank itself. So that is the user flow. So you can create this particular design in a wireframe. Let's say you can first create the onboarding process. Onboarding process, I think I mentioned last week. Say, then you can describe what are the possibilities within this banking applications. You can tell them what are the things that we have implemented in the banking application. Savings and accounts, it is secure, and you can do online payments. So users will go through this when they try to sign up to the application, and then we can put sign up scheme. So sign up scheme wireframes should be there, and then the dashboard, and they have to designer have to follow whatever the things that we have put in the user flow diagram. So that is how we create the wireframe from user after empathizing with users and define user requirements. And then in the ideation process, we have to create this wireframe. And after the ideation process, after we creating the wireframes, maybe we have to get the feedback from our core team, or maybe from the users or the client and stakeholders of this project. So you have to send this to all these stakeholders that you think that you should get the feedback from. So after you receive the feedback, maybe you have to again find in your wireframe based on their feedback. So let's say you don't send your wireframe to any of these people, and you think that your wireframe is good enough to do the prototype and move on to the next section. But while doing the prototype, your team members pointing out that there are some mistakes that you have made in the wireframe. There are some practical issues that designers face when try to convert your wireframes to prototype. So again, you have to change your wireframes, and uh, it will be a time-consuming task. So that is why you have to get your feedback, even for the ideation, even for your wireframes from the people that matter. And then after you fine tune your wireframes and everyone approve the wireframe, you can move on to the prototype phase, where you can open the application such as Figma or any other application, Adobe XD or even SketchUp, and start doing the prototypes. So it is a duty of a visual designer or a UI and UX designer to convert these wireframes to visual representations, actually the visual scripts. So what we do is we will follow the paths that users have given, the UX designers has given to the team. He will follow the use case diagrams and the personas, and he will also have to understand the user requirements. So based on all this, he will select the color scheme and typography and everything that should increase the and improve the aesthetics of these scripts. So that is the beauty of a visual design. So after doing the wireframes, we will move on to prototype. So as I mentioned, Figma is the tool that most of the companies that will UX using nowadays. So you have to be good and fluent in Figma as well. Finally, we are going to test. So after prototype, what we can do is we can send the prototype, click through prototype to our team members or the client. So click through prototype is something like this. This is prototype I created for the video uploading platform. So in here we have all the designs that we have. I created the wireframe first and then come up with this design. So the users can easily click these buttons and move forward with the application. It is not a coded application, but it is created through Figma itself. So you can see what is happening by clicking on the three screens and interact with the design. So that is how it has to be done. This is the critical prototype that we should send to our end users to get their feedback. So after we get those feedback from our end users or team members or even clients, then we that is the testing phase. So after that, we are sending it to our developers to code the application and maybe ship or launch it to the market. So that is the normal UX design process that we have to follow. So as you can see, it is not an iterative process. So you have to go back and forth and fine tune each of these steps in order to make a successful UX designing project. Any questions so far? All right. So now we are going to discuss about. So these are the steps in detail. The number one is understanding the problem existence. So most of the time in this phase, we understand why we need to create the application. So whenever you get a project idea from a client or even from you yourself, you have to think about why are we developing this application? Are we trying to find solution to any problems that is already exist? So is there is it something that we need to create? Is there any other application that doing the same job in a better way? So you have to find answers to these questions in order to understand the problem existence. Let's say the problem can be okay. Let's say it is we are trying to create a ride sharing application. So the problem existence is people don't have a cheaper or a safer way of mobility. So you trying to find an answer for this particular question. So the first thing that you should know is there can be other competitors as well. So how you can differentiate from other competitors? what are the service, what are the service, and what are the extra service that you provide when comparing to these people. So first thing, you have to understand the problem existence. And then comes the research phase. So in this phase, we conduct surveys, interviews, find out competitor details. So in this phase, we have to thoroughly understand about our competitors. So the first phase, we have to understand the problem, and we have to roughly understand if there are any other applications that doing the same job, and what are the competitors and things like that. In research phase, we research about these competitors, as well as we conduct surveys to get user inputs and maybe user interviews and so on. So the research phase is the second one. And after we understand the problem existence and then do the research and we have a good idea about what we are trying to create, and then we analyze all these research results uh, in the third step. In this phase, we analyze the raw information we have found by using competitor analysis, creating personas, customer journeys. So the analyzing phase, what we do is we, in the first phase, we empathize with our users and we have an idea about what they are requiring. What will the user flow that they will follow in our application. So we create personas based on their background, and we do competitor analysis by referring to different competitors in our application for our application. And then we create customer journey. Customer journey plan is kind of like the user flow diagram. So there's a start point and end point. Start point can be the downloading the application. Endpoint can be getting the successful message after they're sending money to someone else, or maybe in ride sharing application, find a taxi to go to some other place. That is the analyzing phase. So after we do this analyzing, then we have to do wireframes and design. So in the wireframe phase, we create user flows, high level and low level wireframes. So wireframing is also important. Once you have all these details about your users and competitors, and you have analyzed them in a presentable way, then it is easier for you to follow these all the data that you have already gathered, information you already gathered, and maybe data visualizations with the graphs and so on. And then you can create wireframes, user flows, and wireframes based on that. The first thing you have to create is a user flow. So in the user flow diagram, as I mentioned, there's a start point and an end point. So the start point can be downloading the application, whereas the end point can be successfully sending money to someone else. So next one is creating wireframes. So the wireframes also have three different types. There are low-level wireframes where we use pencil and paper to create wireframes. So we just sketch them out. So it will be easier for UX designers to erase their mistake, make any mistake. And then after we fine tune these pencil sketch wireframes, we move on to low fidelity wireframes, where we create presentable wireframes to get users feedback. Because we can't get feedback to the sketch wireframes. We don't normally do as a practice. So what we do is we create reachability wireframes to get this feedback. So after we get feedback and we fine tune our reachability wireframe, we do high fidelity wireframes and send it to our visual designers to do the design. So that is the normal flow that we follow in wireframing and design. And finally, the visual designer take the wireframes and do the designing accordingly. So in this space, we create visual designs for the application with the feedback we have taken from the wireframes. So wireframes and feedbacks are converting into visual designs. We can use applications such as Figma in order to create these kind of visual designs or prototypes. The visual designs are again shown to the client or put them to the test again to understand the applicability of the solution and then roll back to any stage or proceed to implement. So as I mentioned earlier, so we found out that the design is not optimized. Design is not fine-tuned based on users' requirement in the prototype phase. So what we have to do is we have to go back to our wireframes. Maybe we have to redo our wireframes. So if it is not enough, we have to go back to our research and empathize phase and do our research and do our process from the beginning again. So that is why all of these steps are really important in order to create a successful UX project. So that those are the main steps in UX design process. All right. Now we discuss about each of these in detail. Empathize, space, define, ideate, prototype, and test. First, what is empathize? Empathizing is understanding your users. So understanding your users, you can do it by asking these kind of questions. We can ask what problems they have, then what they need, what they expect from your application, what they think about your application, and finally, what are the problems in the existing apps. So what problems they have? Let's take the ride sharing application. So they have a problem. They want to, let's say one user is an office worker. If we ask this question from him, he will answer that he want to go to the office in time and he want to make sure that he spends less time on the traffic and so on. And these are the problems that user might have, what they need. So they want to go to the office faster and cheaper. So that is the requirement. So what they expect from your application. So in order to become a successful app, they are expecting us to fulfill their needs. So they might say faster uh, way to book a ride, faster way to find a person nearby and book a ride through the application. What they think about your application. Then you can present them the prototype or whatever you already have and ask question. What they think about our application. What are the questions you have? Is it fulfilling your requirement? So is there any improvement that you suggest? So you can ask these kind of a question from your user. And then finally, what are the problems in the existing apps? So you can ask, are you using any other applications to do the same task currently? So what are the problems that you are facing when you try to do a particular task in this application? So those are the questions that you ask to empathize with your users. So you can get a good idea about the problems they are facing and what they are expecting from your application. All right. So empathizing, you can do it in different ways. The first and most dominant way of doing it is carrying out user interviews. So how you can do is you can interview two users by asking them to come to your office premises, and you can go through and you can show what your research findings and maybe if you have user flow diagrams or anything, you can discuss it with them, and you can ask these kind of questions, qualitative or quantitative questions about the user. So what are the problems they are facing, what they need, what they expect from the application. You can ask all these questions and maybe open-ended questions and also the quantitative questions to get some inputs. So how long it takes for you to travel to the office, how long it takes for you to book a ride through this particular application, if there's any competitors. So those are the questions that you can ask in user interview. So it is actually based on the project that you are doing. So let's say for an example, you are doing a ride sharing app, you have to ask certain kind of questions. If you are doing a mobile banking applications, you have to tailor your question based on the user requirement, based on the domain that you are selected, based on the application that you are trying to do. All right. This is these are the questions that you should ask if you are designing a bicycle riding application. So let's say that you are trying to design a bicycle riding application, and you are the UX designer, and you interview few users, and these are the questions that you have come up with. Why do you ride a bicycle? So we are trying to find the purpose. So why do you ride a bicycle? They might answer, is it for, you can ask questions like, is it for fun? Are they looking for fitness? Are they traveling short distance? Or is it a budget concern? So you can ask and understand what is the purpose that they are using a bicycle. So what do you expect from a bicycle tracking app? So we are next getting into the bicycle tracking application. So then we are asking about what do you expect? So what are the expectations they have in this bicycle tracking application? So the person who is concerned about the health or fitness may say we want to calculate how many calories he burn, how many steps, how many kilometers he travel in daily basis. So another person who is concerned about the budget, he might say how much money I saved in daily basis by traveling uh, in bicycle, and so on. So another person who is like who is concerned about the environment. So how much footprint I reduce by taking bicycle to the office, and so on. So what do you expect from a bicycle trekking? Do you use any other bicycle tracking app? If it is, what are they? So then we are asking about competitors. So we are trying to get an idea about these users, and if they use any other application to do a particular task, we are gathering information about these applications as well. So if, let's say we are interviewing 10 to 15 people, and most of them telling about the same application over and over. So that can be your number one competitor. So you have to gather requirements, gather data about these competitors, and pros and cons about these competitors, and research more and more about the competition in the same bicycle riding industry. What are the problems in that time? So you can ask questions. What are the problems they are facing? What features you need to have in your application? So then after that, we can ask them what are the features that you suggest that you need in our application if you are tailoring application for your requirement. So you can get good answers based on their use cases for these applications. So now we are going to discuss about these answers or the questions in detail. So these are the answers that users might give when you ask the question, why do you ride a bicycle? One user might say, I want to look fit and healthy. Another one will say, I want to keep track of the places I travel and improve on the time I spend for cycling. I want to feel motivated by cycling. I like to share my interest in cycling with my friends and encourage them to take part while having friendly competitions with fellow cyclists. I have to be updated with today's trends and wear decent outfits. So that user's requirement is somewhat different from other users. So I used to travel short distances. So some of these users are traveling because it is their passion, and some of them are trying to uh, look fit and healthy, and some of them feel motivated, and some want to look some want to wear decent outfits and so on. So all of these users have different requirements. So if I ask the question from 6 users, they will give 6 different answers. So second question, what do you expect from a bicycle tracking app? The first user might say, discover the best cycling routes. So that is the first answer. And save and share favorite locations, favorite paths. Get inspired to reach new cycling goals. Track your fitness with Trip Cycling Activity Tracker. Record routes. Map your favorite bike trial or run. Analyze your training with all these stats. So as you can see, uh, different users have different answers to the same question that we are asking. So we have to consider all these answers when we are coming up with user flows, and when we are coming with personas, we have to create 6 different personas for each of these users to better understand our users, our end users. So that is how we have to move forward with the UX process. Third question, do you use any other bicycle tracking app? So if it is yes, what are they? So this is where we are asking about the competition. So they will answer cycling, by bicycle tracker, Strava, bike computer and sport tracker, map, my ride GPS, cycle meter, and we will give you different answers. So now these are your competitors. So you have to understand and think about, you can research. You can go to their Google Play Store or even Apple App Store, or even you can ask questions from these particular users who are already using this application about the pros and cons of these applications. So next one, what are the problems in that app? The first one, issues with tracking. Next one, OS compatibility. Then too much facts, rapid application development, trouble placing a channel. The first user might say issues with tracking. So if it is required, the mobile connection, the data connection throughout the ride, there will be some issues with tracking. So because some areas, even in Sri Lanka, some areas there are where there are lack of cellular reception. So you don't get connection, stable connection throughout the ride. So there can be issues with traffic. So what are the solutions that you can keep? You can implement some local storage, some local map, where you don't have to connect to the server, online server, and your map will download it to your mobile itself, and it will connect to the map locally. So you just have to use your GPS coordinates, and you have to connect to, don't have to connect to the cloud, and you don't need any connectivity throughout the ride. So that is one way to solve this issue. Next one, OS compatibility. Let's say one user is only having iOS devices, Apple devices, and we are launching our application only for Android. So that user might have OS compatibility. Or in Android itself, the person might be using the latest version of Android, whereas our application only support some earlier version of Android. So your application should support latest version, and it should support all the ecosystem, Apple or Android or whatever they are existing. Your application should launch to all of these applications. So that is the number two. Too much facts. So if your application is giving you too many information, too much facts, that the things that you don't even like to see. Let's say in bicycle riding application, you when you signing up, you answer few questions that these are the things I want to see in my application. These are the things that you should put in my dashboard itself. So if you try to give push notification about the things that users don't like, when they reach a milestone, it is okay. When they try to pass a certain place, if you send so many notifications, try to send so many facts about different places, and try to send so many articles about how to ride bicycle properly, what are the postures, and so on. Some users might like it, but most of them don't like it. So you always have to make sure to present users with what they only require. Too many facts will take them off from your application as well. Rapid application development. So when we have all these issues, rapid application development is actually the problem that developers or the designers will face. So when we interview all these users, we have to create the application rapidly. Otherwise, let's say you want to create the application within 2-3 weeks. So if we don't start and create the application rapidly, there might be other competitors who is trying to develop the application and who is doing better. And we will launch the application in time. And if you take so much of time, your application won't be a good one. It will be a unsuccessful product. So rapid application development is also important. So in rapid application development, we have topics such as, let's say, you gather requirement, you do the UX process and everything. And when we launch in the application, we launch a product called MVP, which is stands for minimum viable product. So in the minimum viable product, what we do is we launch the application with the minimum features that users will require. Let's say the bicycle riding application, we launched the application with two features. One is the map feature, which is necessary. And the second one is, let's say, calories tracker, for how many calories they burn. So those are the only two features that we are launching our application with. So after that, after some time, when we get the feedback from our users, we can add more and more features. But the launching is really important. Launching in time, it's really important because there are so much competition in the market. If you take so much of time to develop that application and try to perfect the application, if you try to launch the application with all the things that you think of, it will take so much of time. And when you're launching the application, someone else might have already taken the advantage by launching it before your application. Trouble placing a challenge. So this user is trying to place a challenge to the application. Let's say he have a social group. Let's say the application can add different users. So you have a frame network as well. You can place challenges among different users. So this application is not providing that kind of a functionality. So he is looking for this kind of a functionality in our application. So number 5. What features you need to have in your application? So when we ask this question, they will tell that all the things that left in those applications that they are already using, and these are the features that they require in our application. Number 1 can be discover the best cycling routes. Save and share your favorites. Get inspired to reach new cycling goals. Track your fitness with strict cycling activity tracker. Record routes. Map your favorite bicycle trial or run. Analyze your training with all the stats. Track how much you save your money and fuel by using the bicycle. Buy bicycle parts. Use for short distance travels. Keep a to-do list and reminders. So all of these users are requesting different features when asking the questions. So you have to make sure you make a priority list. So when you're launching the application, as I mentioned in the MVP, you only have to launch few features, at least 2 or 3 features. So you have to understand what are the main features that will give us a good advantage if we launch. So all the other things we can launch them. We can take little time to launch after the initial launch. All right. Next one is the competitor analysis. So these are the things that we can empathize with our users. These are the methods we use. Number 1 is user interviews. Number 2 is competitor analysis. So what is competitor analysis? One of the critical steps when developing a new product is finding out where you stand with the competition. Competitor analysis is a necessary part of the design process to help businesses gain valuable insight into the market, identify the strengths and weaknesses of their products, and develop effective product strategies to create winning results. Okay. When we are signing a mobile application or even a website, let's say it is for traveling or the tourism industry, we have to think about what are our competitors. Let's say again, we take a ride sharing application. So when we try to design our application, we have to do competitor analysis. After we asking these kind of questions from our users, we can get to know about what are the direct and indirect competitors to our product. So it is a critical step. If you don't know who are your competitors and if you don't have any idea about where you stand in the competition, it will negatively affect your product. So most of the people won't even use your application because there are already existing application which do a better job than your application, and there are some established users as well. So make sure to do competitor analysis as well. So if you take in the ride sharing industry, if you do a proper competitor analysis, you're trying to launch a ride sharing application. So the competitors can be direct competitors. There are other applications such as Uber and Picnic. There are some other applications as well. Some people might be using it, but uh, you have to understand and you have to gather data about these applications as well. And the next one you have to do is you have to find out indirect competition as well. Different taxi services and the services they provide. All things you have to do in your competitor analysis. Okay. By doing this, you can get gain valuable insights into the market. So, what is the market expectations? Who are our end users? What are the target users that we should follow? What are the market trends? How we can get more users to our platform? How we can get users from different platforms, and you can how you can improve and how we can find solutions to the problems that the users are facing when using these other platforms. So those are the things that you can identify and understand by carrying out a good thorough competitor analysis. So these are the reasons why we conduct competitor analysis in UX design. Number one is assess where your product or design stands in the market. So by carrying out this competitor analysis, you can understand where you stand in the competition. So are you doing good? Are there any features that you have when comparing to other people? Are other applications have good user base? How many users have downloaded these applications? What is your expectation when you launch the application? How much users are you targeting when advertising? So those are the questions that you should ask. Define any gaps in the market. So let's say there's a market gap for the, again, ride sharing application. There are some cities that require this kind of application. So for an example, Pitney and Uber are only providing services in certain cities, Colombo, Kandy, or maybe Goal and some other cities. So you can launch an application, you can understand the requirement. So people in Jaffna or some other area have the similar requirement. So are we launching the application in this particular geolocation? So is there any market gap? So how many riders are there in a certain time frame? So during the rush hours, how we can promote, how we can gain more riders to our platform rather than going to other platforms. So those are the things that you should answer. How we can define, how we can fill any market gaps in the in that particular domain. Know the strengths and weaknesses of your competitors. So if you ask few people, if you yourself download these applications and try to book a ride, you will get to know what are the strengths and weaknesses of these applications. How much they charge? Is it charging fairly? Is the drivers professional? So those are the things that users might be thinking of when they're writing an application, when they're comparing applications. Identify the advantages and disadvantages of your products. So disadvantages and advantage also, let's say for the ride sharing application. So if it is taking so much time to load the application, if it is taking so much time even from the rider's point of view, if the application is not responding, it is getting stuck on some devices, it is not a good thing. So it is a disadvantage for that particular product. So if when you try to launch your product, so you have to consider all these advantages and disadvantages and make sure to address all these disadvantages and make sure to provide your users with most of the things that they like. So you can't eliminate disadvantages altogether. Some users find it difficult to use, but you have to make sure your application is streamlined and fast and answer all the questions that your users are facing. Have evidence to back up your design changes. So when you do your design, when you do the competitor analysis as a UX designer, let's say you come up with a wireframe and then the prototype. So you have to present this to your team members and maybe the stakeholders and the clients. So they will ask questions. So why did you select this particular color? Let's say you selected blue color as your accent in your design. So they will ask, why did you select this color? So you should have good answer for this rationale behind you selecting this particular color. And they will ask other questions such as why did you place your search bar up here? not in some other place? Why is your user account icon this size and so? So you should do the competitor analysis. You can tell that other users are get used to this kind of application, and this is the placement that most of the ride sharing applications are using for the search bar, and users have prior experience using this application, and they are looking for the same placement in your application as well. So those are the things that you can tell your code designers or the stakeholders of the application when they are asking certain questions about your design decisions in your application. And it will helps to solve usability issues. So as you know, most of these well-established applications, especially Uber or a Picnic, they have done so much of user research, usability research when they're launching a particular feature or application, UI design or anything. So when you gather those requirements from your competitors and everyone, uh, you eventually come up with a better design. So you don't have to thoroughly research about the usability and everything, because already these companies have done it. But you have to carry out some usability research because let's say in Uber application, they are competitors. It is international application. Their competitors are different. And in Picnic, their competitors are different. So you have to understand different usability issues. What are your application will be facing. Let's say you are launching your application, let's say mobile banking application. Your mobile banking application can be used by different people. It can be a teenager, it can be a uh, elder person who might have visual impairment or even motor impairment. So you have to answer these accessibility and usability issues when you are doing the design. So competitor analysis, these competitors might doing a better job when it comes to usability of the application. So you can use the same usability cues in your application to make your application a better one, successful product. All right, these are the steps that you can follow to do a competitor analysis. The first thing you have to do is outline your goals and define your product. So if you don't have a product, if you don't have any goals that you trying to achieve with your product, uh, you don't have a good idea about what you are trying to launch. So you are not trying to answer any kind of a problem that your users are facing. So you have to think about that in the first place. Compile a list of your direct and indirect competition. So as I mentioned earlier, if it is a ride sharing application, you have to list first some other ride sharing applications, and indirect competition can be taxi services or public transport or whatever. You have to uh, make a list of these direct and indirect competition. Create a comparison chart of the competition's product features. Then you can create a chart with or the features on the leftmost axis and put ticks kind of like this. So you can list down all the features on your left rows, leftmost column, and put your competitors in other columns and put ticks or check marks to let you know what are the features that those applications have. And then you can finally list down your application and put all the features that your application will have and get an idea, get an overall picture about what you are trying to achieve by developing this application. Identify differences between products. So you can compare and identify difference between the features, and maybe identify difference in UI, identify the differences in the people that their target audiences are. So those are the things that we should do in our competitor analysis. And then finally summarize and present your findings. So even though you did all these competitor analysis, if you don't summarize and present your findings through good visualizations to your team, they won't believe that you have done your competitor analysis. Maybe you can take screenshots of your research findings. Maybe you have already read several research papers regarding the matter that you are trying to solve. So you have to take screenshot and you have to extract all these ideas and make a presentation with all these visualizations and present it to your core team members and maybe stakeholders about the competitors before you move on to the other steps in user experience design process. All right. Any questions so far regarding the process? So now we are talking about creating personas. So persona generation is also important. As I mentioned earlier, when you interview few users, when you give get input from these users, you can get input regarding their background, what are their academic background, what is their personal life can be, are they are working, or what is their personality type and so on, likes and dislikes and so on. So you get an idea about this user's background. So you can, in here, we have 5 different users. So we put names for each of these users. So let's say uh, this user can have a different story. And whereas this user is a student, this is office worker, this can be an entrepreneur, and this is a mother, and so on. So all of these users might have different background and they have different stories to tell about themselves and how they will interact with your application if you are launching an application. So what is a user person? User personas are archetypical users whose goals and characteristics represent the needs of a larger group of users. Usually, a persona is presented in 1 or 2 page document. So as I mentioned, let's say you identified your target users when you're trying to launch an application. So you won't be able to interview all of these users. So we are taking few archetypical users that you think will represent all of these users, all of our end users, and you interview them. And you understand about their goals and characteristics. And then we create a document, which we call the persona. Uh, with their photo and then their personality and some motivations they have, goals and frustrations they are facing, and one quote that they mentioned during the chat, and so on. So those are the things that you should mention. Some of the competitors you can add here. So it is based on the requirement that you have in hand. So you can interview few users. In Figma itself, you can do competitor analysis. There's a template in Figma Jam. If you load Figma Jam, let's say you can use this template. So this is for single user. You can paste a picture of him and then can add a quick bio and some links to his social media or LinkedIn or whatever. And you can describe his personality and list down some interests, influences, goals, needs and expectations, motivations, pain points and frustrations and everything. So this template you can use to any projects you do because you don't have to spend time on designing your own template. And then this is already available on Figma. You can use the same template when you do our capstone project at the end of the course as well. So how you can get that is you have to go to Figma and new Figma Jam board. And there's option called start with a template. Click on that and search for whatever your requirement is. So for me, it is a persona. So I'm selecting this particular platform design template, and we can use this template to, and we can fill it out easily without designing it ourselves. All right. Even for your projects, when you do persona, you can use the same platform, same Figma Jam file. Why are user personas? So by having user persona, you can build empathy. So as soon as you follow, let's say, uh, what we do is in UX, if you are working with a team, we create these kind of a personas and we get printouts, and then we hang them in a whiteboards or the notes or whatever. And then everyone in the team, when there's a team meeting or anything, we can look into one of these people. When we, let's say, we are referring to Charlotte's story. So when UX designer mentioned the Charles story is this, that use everyone in the team and look into this particular printout and refer to their story and understand that user's requirement and frustrations and everything. So everyone can understand and be on the same page about the users that we are interacting with. So we can have up to 10 different names for different personas. So we can all list down all these different users and make sure to be on the same page when we are discussing about different users and their requirements. And you can easily build empathy by having this kind of a persona already designed. Provide direction for making design decisions. So as I mentioned earlier, in team meeting and more team meetings or requirement gathering or anything. So when you have this persona already designed, you can directly tell. So if this user's name is John, you can tell that John will like this kind of a feature in our application. So everyone in the team know who John is. So you don't have to mention this particular user, and make sure to do the personas and give the names accordingly as well. And when communicating the research findings, so you can tell even after you do the interview, when you create the persona, you can have different names. So everyone in the team knows the name of a particular user that you already interviewed. So if you try to interview them again, if you try to get the feedback for your designs from this user, you can list down those feedback as well. And everyone in the team can communicate with each other about the research findings as well by having these personas displayed in a team meeting with the team. Okay, now we are discussing about creating a user persona. So the first one we need is persona name. So we interview a user and we ask few questions. What is your name? So they will provide a name, and it can be actual name, and we can use any other name as well. But the name should represent his personality. So let's say you interview a person with a different background and you're trying to find a name and you put totally different name. Like there are some names that we already have some, let's say, personality bind to it. So you have to make sure to put a right name if you are using a different name for that particular user. And then we can put a photo. So you can ask that user, can we use one of your photos in our persona diagram? So if we say yes, you can use actual photo. Otherwise, you can go to stock photos and try to find a similar photo with a similar characteristics of that user you already interviewed with. All right. Next, we are going to ask about demographics, gender, age, location, whether they are married or not, and how family background and everything. And then we ask about goals and needs, pain points they are facing uh, by using application or when doing a particular task in daily life. And bits of personality. Example, the quote or slogan that captures the personality. So if you uh, do a creating a persona, you have to consider all of this. You can put all this information that you get gathered in real time up here as well. And if you prefer writing it down in a paper, you can follow it and fill out this form, because personas should be presentable. So it should be nice, and every user should be able to identify what is the uh, content by just looking at it. All right. So that is about persona creation. Next, we are going to mention about user flows. So user flow diagram is also really important. Let's say you try to develop a banking application, and starting point, as I mentioned earlier as well, can be a downloading the application, and the endpoint can be sending the money successfully. The success message can be the endpoint. So what is a user flow? A user flow or a UX flow is a diagram that shows the path the user goes through when using a product from start point to the final interaction. So it will show you the whole process that they follow from start point to the end point. So let's say uh, simple user flow. Let's take this diagram. So this is the entry point where we call it action. We describe it as an action. That is why we are using it as a circle. And the rectangles are display screens, whereas these this shape is a decision. So entry point, we are showing them the welcome screen, and then we are showing them select task screen. So if they select the task, if they take the action, if action is correct, we are showing them all the details. If the action is not correct, we are taking them back to the select task option. So that is why these arrows are here. And then the details are correct, they find the details. And then they search items and item found. So if they uh, enter a detail of an item we already have in our database, we will find the items and item found, the ordered and finally closed. So if item is not there in our database, we show them the message item not found, and maybe they can come back and search for the different item and complete the task. But why user flow important? It is an easy and fast way to visualize the process, allows to better learn your audience, helps to eliminate malfunctions and better communication. So by having a user flow diagram in place, you can easy to fast way to visualize the process. So rather than thinking and uh, visualizing yourself, uh, having a good user flow already designed is beneficial for everyone in the team as well. So because otherwise you have to think that think everyone have to think about different users, and they don't have a blueprint about how users should follow this follow your application to do particular task, and you have to make sure you do your user flows after you do your personas. So you can design user flows for all those personas, but sometimes some of the personas can have similar requirements. So you can create a persona for 2 or 3 different people. Uh, I'm sorry, you can create a user flow for 3 or 4 different people based on their requirements. So user flow is also another important thing in UX design process. It allows to better learn your audience. So whenever you try to do the wireframe, you can follow this user flow and understand what your user requirements are. And it helps eliminate malfunctions. So you won't miss out any of the screens when you have your user flows in place. So otherwise you might miss some of the screens when you try to do the wireframes directly after you create the user personas. And it will help to better communicate your ideas with the users. So you can show your team members this particular user flow, and you can go through each of these process uh, with the team and understand what is it lacking and how we can communicate, how we can improve, how we can fine tune our user flow based on different user requirements. So it will improve it will help to better communicate as well. So that is it regarding UX process. So we are going to get a quick break, a 10-minute break, and after that, we are going to discuss about use of UX process in detail as well. Okay, let's meet up at 10:40. Okay, welcome back, everyone. So these are the things that we discussed today. So do you have any questions regarding what we already learned today and last week? Questions or clarifications or anything? You can send a message or you can switch on your mic and ask. So these are the topics we covered. So in the UX process, these are the uh, remaining things that we have to do. Color psychology and color theory, typography, style guide, UX laws, and creating wireframes. So before that, I'm going to do some Figma practicals today. So I hope everyone have access to this board. Let me share the screen on Zoom chat as well. Please join the board and let me know everyone is in. Chamara, can you join the Figma board? Okay, it's already in. How about Fatima? Ratnasekara?
I already joined, sir.
Okay, all right. How about Janet? Kavindya? Sasanka?
I tried. Can you see me there?
Yeah, yeah. Can everyone click on your name on the board so I can see who is your and who's your? Click on your board. Yeah, right. All right, so let's do Figma first. So after that, we will do the UX design process part two next week. So it will be easy. So UI designing with Figma. So the first thing that we are going to do is I'm going to introduce you to Figma, even though you have prior experience. So then we are going to discuss about some Boolean operations they have implemented in Figma. And then we are going to introduce to responsive grid layout, where it is really helpful for you to have a responsive design layout. Whenever you have to do the design, you have to do the design for all these devices, different devices. For an example, as UX designers, we do mobile first design. So where we have to do designs for the mobiles first, and then we moving on to higher sizes, such as tablet and the laptop and any desktop size, larger size. So that is the responsive grid layout. We are going to talk about that as well. And then auto layout, which is a really important feature in Figma itself. It will be easier for us to add auto layout to our designs, and it will take the screen size accordingly. So it is really important tool if you consider about the responsiveness of your design as well. And auto layout, you can apply that to any of your design elements, and it will give you a layout. You don't have to align it properly. So system itself, the Figma itself will create the layout for you, will align itself properly. It will add the uniform depth between elements and so on. So auto layout is the next one, and the components, variants, and responsive design. So these are the things that we are going to discuss in Figma today. So let's start with Boolean operation. Okay, let's start with Figma home screen. So I think I mentioned you last week that you have to go through Figma uh, menu the week before last actually. So I will roughly go through it. So in here we have file menu where we can open new tab, new file or anything, and we can save whatever file as a Figma, and we can go to version history as well. And we can export our, let's say if I select my board right here, we can export it as a PDF or whatever the format you require. And in the edit section, we have normal redo and undo, cut, copy, paste operations, duplicate, and so on. And we have find, find next, find previous. So those operations will be beneficial if you put correct name, meaningful names for your design elements. So we are going to discuss it in detail after this introduction. So set default properties, copy properties, and all these things are here. Select none, inverse, and all things. So we are going to discuss about those new things in design menu items later. In the view also, we have UI controls for our UI components, pixel grid, layout grids. Layout pixel grids is something like this. So if you zoom all the way in your Figma file, you will be able to see the design grids. So you won't be able to see it on my screen because of the video quality when we come into the zoom. So if you do it on your side, the zoom, the Figma, it will show you the design grids, the pixels. And then we have layout grids. Layout grid is something like this. So if you put one design, let's say design here, all these red color arrows that shows the placement and the placement. Is it the center? Is it the middle? So those are called layout grids. And we have rulers. We have two rulers on x-axis here and y-axis here. So you can see now this one is 1440 to 1024. So from here to here, it's 1240. From x-axis, it's 0 to 1440. So that is the ruler in feet. And then you have comments. So whatever you do, you can add comments as well. So let's say I don't like the design. Let's say I'm going to do a design, quick design. So the user, the customer or the client don't like the design, the color of the button. So what he can do is he can add a comment. And they can maybe add an emoji and emotion, or even they can upload a GIF file, and they can mention my name as well. That is how you gather feedback for your designs in Figma. So users can add annotations in the exact place that they want to mention in the comment, and add the annotation and create a comment. So you can reply to this comment by clicking on reply. After you solve this particular issue, you can mark it as resolved. So it will go away from the comments and feedback section. Then you have outlines. So if we show outlines, it will show like this. It won't show you the design itself. It will show only outlines. And then we have pixel preview, mask outlines, frame outlines, memory usage. So all these functions are advanced functions. We will discuss about them when we are using the applications, when we have more layers in our designs. Show hide UI multiplayer cursors. So right now I can see all of your cursors. So if I switch this off, it will only show my own cursor. So panels, we have all these panels, open layers panel and libraries and everything. You can show or hide them based on our requirement. The zoom properties are here. Interface scale, toggle full screen, and all these options that you already know. So if you're familiar with any other applications such as Photoshop, Illustrator, or even Adobe XD, I think you already familiar with most of these properties or features that they provide. So in the object section, so if we create components, we have frame selection. We can frame whatever the component we have. We can group them, ungroup them, wrap in a new section. So I will do all these when we do our designs in Figma board. So these are kind of like even in word processor, Microsoft Word, we have these functions: align left, align horizontal centers, bring it forward, back horizontal. All these details are there. So if you try to play around, if you try to add different elements, maybe square or maybe text elements and things like that, you can multi-select all of these and try to play with these different functions. I'm not going to do it in the class here because it is really straightforward. You can easily see what is happening even by reading the description. So try to do it and get an idea about what you can do in Figma functions. So these are some text properties and arrange. You can align left and so on. Vector, if you're designing a logo or whatever, you can, after designing the logo, let's say I'm going to vector this one, you can flatten this image. And if I go to vector, if I have a SVG or design that we already did in Illustrator itself, vector design, you can smooth, join, delete, or whatever. There are several properties that you can play with the vector itself in this design. Then we have plugins. So if you go to manage plugins, we have all the plugins that we have installed here. So I have installed Google Material Symbols. So which will provide me all the icons I require in my design. All these icons will be there. And you can install any plugin that you like in Figma itself. So what you can do is you can go here and search for whatever the plugin you like, and you can install it by clicking on this run icon. And finally, we can create widgets, or we can just drag and drop or widgets that users already created and use them in our designs as well. So that is how you can use this Figma community files. So in order to access Figma community, what you can do is go to your home screen, and here's a button called Explore Community. Click on that. You can search for whatever the UI, whatever the design inspiration that you require. Let's say you are trying to create a crypto application. So use the term crypto and search for it, and it will show you all the crypto-based widgets that users already created. So you can get an inspiration, get an idea about these designs, and use it in your designs as well. So there are really nice designs. So if you do a good design and you think that you can publish it to Figma community as well, in order for other designers to use it, you can do the same as well. So it is kind of like open source community where designers can share their own designs and get other people's designs and inspirations as well. Okay, let's go back to our board. Those are the basic things that we have in Figma. So in left hand side, we have all the uh, layers listed. So if you create an asset, it will display here. So Jeremy, I think maybe accidentally create an component. So it will display here. So we are creating components in the presentation they have mentioned as well. So we are creating components. So I will let you know how to create a component and how we can use these reusable components in our designs as well. And we can create different pages. In the free version, we are only allowed to create up to 3 pages, but in the paid version, you can create whatever the pages you want to create, number of pages. All right. And on right hand side, you have all the properties. So if you select this particular rectangle here, it will show you in x-axis, it is 93 pixels to the right. And right now it is x0, y0, and the width and height and all the rotation, you can rotate it to whatever the angle you like. And you can even add border radius. So if I add border radius, it will add border radius like this to all the borders. You can customize it as well. And they have constraints as well. So if you, it is actually really important when you do the responsiveness, when you're creating prototypes. So we will come back to it later. And you can change the layer styles, layer different properties, darken, lighter, when you're adding images, when you have image rich design, when you have more layers on your design, you can easily, I can easily demonstrate this to you. So I will do it when we have more design elements in the screen. So this is the fill properties. So you can change the fill color and you can change it to gradient, you can change it to image or even a video as well. And you can create a library as well. So whenever you do a design, it is a good practice to create a design system. So in library, what we do is we create a different colors that we are using in the design. So it can be a red color, it can be a blue color that we are using in our buttons. So you don't have to select it all over again when you try to apply the same color to a different button. So you have it in your library. You can just go to your library and click on that particular color that you already created. So I will discuss it in detail as well. And then we have opacity. You can reduce the opacity of your already selected color as well. And then stroke, we'll add a outline stroke. I add something like this, it will show you. And we have effects. In the effects section, we have drop shadow, inner shadow, and layer blur, which is really important if you are working with images. If you have background images and you have foreground pop-ups or anything, you can add layer blur or background blur for those elements. So I will show you how to do that as well. And finally, in the export section, we have export. We can export whatever we already created as PNG or any format that they are giving here. And you can change the size. So right now, it is 1x, so it is the actual size. You can change it up to 4x and you can give it whatever the size that you require. So it will show the preview up here as well. So in the prototype section, you can create a prototype by selecting this. You can have a start point and an end point like this. So it will show it as a flow. So we discuss about prototype creation and how we can create an animation and how to create a clickable prototype later as well. So that is the prototype section. And you can select whatever the device you like. Let's say I create another board for the demonstration purpose. Let's say I'm selecting a phone, iPhone 14 or 14 Pro Max. So this is my design. And if I go here and go to prototype and then show starting point here, show prototype settings, device, here on 15 Pro Max. So if I click on this play button right here, on 3, it will show inside the iPhone 15 Pro Max or 15 Pro. So that is how we present it to our end users or stakeholders of the project. We'll delete this. That is the prototype section. And after we create our design, when we giving it to our developers, they will switch on this developer mode. So if you switch on this developer mode, so it is actually not a paid team right now. I'm using this. Let's see any other file I can show it to you. Let's say this one. I switch on the developer mode after selecting whatever this element. So it will show all the developer variants that required by the developers, front-end developer. So the CSS code and all the colors that require. And if you install plugins such as React or AngularJS or even Vue.js, it will show all the reusable component codes as well. So you can create code by using your designs as well. So that is all in Figma UI itself. And I will discuss about this tool set now. So it is file, and this one is the cursor, where you can move your elements like this. And if you select this scale option, it will scale your element. You don't have to actually select it to scale. When using cursor, you can even scale as well. So if you want to scale horizontally, or let's say you want a uniform scale. So I have a square like this, 300 by 300 pixels. So you want to scale it uniformly. What you can do is click on either side and click on shift button on your keyboard and drag it. So it will scale it uniformly. Otherwise, if you don't click on shift icon, it will not have the same size. It won't be a square anymore. Next, we have frame. So you can create a frame here. So frame creation is also important when you are selecting a frame right here. So when you're selecting this also, it is all these are frames. So everyone in the team, everyone in the class have different frames. So I rename their frame names to their name as well. So when you are doing a design in Figma, always make sure to create a frame. It is kind of like a artboard in other designs like Illustrator or Photoshop. It is called an artboard or whatever. And then in Figma itself, it is called a frame. So you can use the frame to create your design. And inside, you can put frames inside a selection. So if I select all these frames, and we can put it inside a selection like this. I'm going to undo it. And then we have a slice. So you can slice certain part of your screen by using slice 2. And these are the rectangle, line, arrow shapes that you can use in your design. Basically, this design can be used when you do a logo design or any other shape design. You can use any of these. And we have pen and pencil tool where you can use it to create a graphic or whatever you like. And we have typographic. And then here we have all the components, plugins, and widgets. And you can move around your screen by using this hand icon. And this is the comment icon I mentioned you earlier. All right. And here we have all the people that involved in our design project. So all the people. And if I click on Spotlight Me, and from your end, if you allow it, you can see whatever the action I'm doing in my screen itself. So you can follow my interactions by following my design. So it is really good when we presenting our designs to our design team or our users as well. So I'm going to stop it right now. And you can share your design with any of these. You can copy link, you can change the permission to can edit or can view, and copy link and send it to whoever you want to get feedback or you want to get involved in your project. So this is the zoom. You can zoom in and zoom out as well. And this is the prototype button I click when I want to check the prototype. When I want to play the prototype. Okay. Go delete this, delete this. So, okay, let's go back to our presentation. Okay, now I'm going to discuss about Boolean operations. Boolean operations in Figma, it is similar to other designing tools as well. We have union, subtract, intersect, and exclude. So let's say I have two different objects. Number one is this. I'm going to change the color to say this color. This color. Going to create a circle as well. These are the two elements we have. This one's color to black. So we have union. So if we select union, it will show the union all area that covered by these two elements. So this one. And if you select a subtract, it will show the it will subtract the uppermost element and show the remainder from the below element like this. Intersect, it will show the intersection of these two elements. Its part is the intersection, so it will show the intersection. If you select exclude, it will show everything other than the intersection part of that particular design. So that is the Boolean operations in Figma. Okay. Now responsive grid layout for desktop, tablet, and mobile. Okay. So whenever you get a project, let's say you get a project to create a website for a certain company. So the developers, as a good practice, you have to design all three screen sizes, or three or more. So the first one is you have to design it for the mobile site, mobile version, and then maybe tablet size, and finally the desktop computer size. So in Figma, what you can do is you can select. Let's say I'm going to select Android large for a mobile. So I'm going to name this as mobile. And another one, I need a tablet. So I will select, let's say iPad Pro. We'll name it as tablet. And for the next one, I'm going to select a desktop size. Here. This is desktop. So at least for these three sizes, you have to do your designs. So otherwise, when you give the design to your developers, they will have to create the different versions for different font sizes, different screen sizes themselves. So developer doing the design is not the good thing. So you have to create your designs for different screen sizes and provide it to your developers as well. So when they are developing, actually, as I mentioned last week, we have calls frameworks like Tailwind or Bootstrap. Yeah, they can get your code, get your designs, and code it accordingly by using one of these frameworks, which is really easy to implement. Okay, now we have different grid sizes, different columns for each of these elements. Now, for the mobile, when we are using a grid, keep space and align design constantly both horizontal and vertically in all places. So let's go back. And we have layout grid option here. So if I add it here, it will display like this. So it will add a layout grid. So grid is not the one that we require to do our design. We need columns. So as a good practice for mobile, we put 4-column layout, and maybe the gutter and the width is actually based on the requirement, but as a good practice, leave it as the default ones that Figma is giving. So 4-column layout is but it's very practical for mobile design because you can't put much of the details on horizontal axis in mobile first layout. What you can do is you can create a 4-column layout and align your designs based on this particular layout. Okay, so columns used for horizontal alignment. So you can align your design element horizontally by using these columns. So for an example, let's say you create a button here. And then you want to create a paragraph as well. And if it is not aligned, you can easily align by selecting this and selecting both of this. And there's a align option right here, align left. So you can align it left. If you want to align it right, you can do the same thing. So horizontal columns are really important. So the mobile, it is 4. Here, 12 columns for desktop, 8 for tablet, and 4 for mobile. So let's say we are going to add 8 for mobile tablet size. So select the tablet and then layout grid. We'll show the grid layout. Click on that and select columns and select 8 from here. So it will add 8 columns to our tablet size. And for the desktop, it should be 12. These are the different sizes, different screen sizes, and the columns that we require. When we do practical design, this is the columns that these are the number of columns that we use in our designs. All right. Container desktop 1120 pt, tablet 680, mobile 358. So those are the general sizes for different screen sizes, but you don't have to worry about this now because Figma provides different screen sizes. So you can select whatever the size that you prefer and do your designs accordingly. So always make sure mobile, it should be 4-column, tablet 8-column, and desktop 12-column. So that is the general and the most used sizes of the columns for the different sizes of the screens. Okay. Next, we have auto layout. It makes frames and component to responsive. Okay. Now let's create something. So everyone follow my designs. So you can follow what I do in designs and make sure to do the same design or something similar in your designs as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a auto layout. So in order to do that, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a frame. So click on this frame. Right here and click Shift key and create a frame. Let's say the size should be 300 by 300. And give it a different color other than white. So if you're missing out, please let me know. I can follow the same action. So let me do it again. I'm going to select this frame from the toolbar on left-hand side top. Click on the frame and get the frame. It will give you a plus symbol on your screen size and create a frame and change the frame size to 300 by 300 on right hand side properties like this, and change its color by selecting fill. Click on plus icon on fill and change the color accordingly like this. Is Janet here today? No, right? How about Kavinya? She's not here. Okay, Jerem, do you want me to create a new board for you? I think you made it a component already. So let me create a new board for you. Okay, you can use the board I created now.
Okay, thank you.
The charmer is done. Ratnasekara is good.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you guide me? I'm a little messed around.
Okay. So what you have to do is first you have to click on this frame tool here. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, click on that and then it will give you this kind of a plus icon in your cursor. So what you can do is you can click on the shift key on your keyboard, then draw a square, actually.
Okay.
Okay, draw a square and you can change the properties of that by giving it 300 and 300 on right hand side properties. Do that first. It don't have to be 300 by 300 on the first go. You can change the size later on as well. So make sure to draw the first and you can change the properties afterwards. The Jeremy is done, Ratan Sekhar, everyone is good. Fatima, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, when I select your design that you have created, it is a rectangle. So you can change the properties by clicking on this width and height. So set width 300 and height to 300 as well. Right now it's 398, make it 300 and height also should be 300. Right now it's 280, so you have to make it 300. Okay, cool. Now change the color by...
Is it okay, sir?
Yeah, it's okay. Now I have to change the fill color. Click on this plus icon next to fill, right hand side bottom.
Where is it? Sorry, sir.
Can you follow my cursor?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, select your design element and it's here, fill. And change the color to whatever the color you like. All right. Now we have everyone done with this square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a auto layout. So in order to do auto layout, what you have to do is now you most of you only have one square on your board. So I want you to create sorry guys, I got disconnected. So what was I mentioning when I was online? Sasanka?
Yeah, auto correction.
Okay. Have you created 4 squares by duplicating same square 3 times? Let's see. Charmer. Charmer, you have to create 3 squares. What you can do is click on your square and press Ctrl plus D and duplicate it 3 times.
Sorry, what's the command?
Ctrl plus D.
T.
D for Denmark. D for duplicate. Okay, Jeremy is good. I need 4 squares, so create 4 of them. I can see that most of you try to align them properly. Don't try it because we are doing auto aligning, so you don't have to do it manually. So just create 4 squares and keep them as it is. So we are going to auto align them, which is a Figma function. So let me know when you done creating 4 squares. Charmer is done. Fatima is also done. Atmasekara, Jeremy, Sasank is also done. Okay, now I want you to select all 4 squares that you already created. So you can do it like this. You can select the whole area by clicking and dragging your cursor like this. So it will select all 4.
Sorry, I can see
Yeah.
the screen though.
Shit.
Screen is not sharing.
Yeah. I'm sorry. So let me share it again. Sorry, guys. So what you can do is you can go to your board and select the squares that you created, 4 squares. I have all my 4 squares underneath each other, you can see. So I'm not going to change it manually. So what I do is I select all 4 squares like this, select all. So everyone else do the same thing. And then we right click on it. And there's an option called frame selection. Make sure not to create click group selection. It should be frame selection what you have to select. Click on frame selection. Select all 4 squares and right click and select frame selection from the menu that you are getting. Shamara, select all 4 squares that you already created. Okay, don't group them. I already mentioned. You have to frame. And you put Fatima, you can you select all the 4 squares that you already created? Everyone else is good. Ratnasekar, Jerem, and Sasanka. Good job. And okay, select them and then right click on it and select frame selection. Shamara, let me take the control of your board for 1 second. So otherwise, okay. So I remove the group that you created. Now your elements are inside the frame. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 squares are inside this frame. So what you can do is, let me do it again on your board. So right now you only have these squares. So let's give it a little space so you can see there are 4 squares. So select all 4 squares like this and right click on it and select frame selection. So it will frame your design elements inside another frame. So Fatima is also good. So now I want you to rename this frame that you have created already to a different name. Let's say it a row, ROW. How you can do is you can select the frame you created. The left hand side layers pane, you can double click on whatever the name you already have, and then you can type whatever the name you like. In this case, we name it as row, ROW. Sasanka is good. Jeremy is good. Ratnasekara. So when you select your rows, you can see that it's under your board name, Ratnasekara, name as frame 56. Double click on that frame 56, it will give you editing capabilities. So you can edit the name to row, ROW. That is how you name your layers on Figma. So always make sure to put meaningful names. For an example, let's say you don't rename your names and you just have frame numbers there. So whenever you try to search for something, it is really, so you have to go to your design and search, look for it manually. And if you put proper meaningful name, it will beneficial for you. And also when someone else trying to collaborate or someone else try to take over your design, putting meaningful names is really beneficial. So they will understand what this particular layer do in your design. So make sure to do that as well. Okay, let's see. Shamara, good. Fatima. Fatima, can you double click on your frame on left hand side pane? Can you follow my mouse on my screen? So in here we have frame 61. So double click on that and change your name to row, ROW. One else is good. All right, good. So now everyone else has their squares spread out in the design. I only have all squares. So follow my screen now. So I only have all 4 squares in the same position. So that is why none of them, 3 of them is not showing up. So what I can do is select my row. So that is the uppermost frame I created, select it and on right hand side, there's a option called auto layout. Click plus icon there. There's an option called auto layout. Click on that. So what I did was I selected all my row and click on auto layout. So it will give me this kind of a properties. So Charmer is good. Ratnasekara, Jeremy, Sasanka. Fatima, can you select your row first? And then there's an option on right hand side called auto layout, right? Can you see after frame properties right here? Okay, good. So now everyone has auto layout already created. So what we can do is we can change the direction of our elements. So it can right now for me, it is a vertical layout. You can change it to horizontal layout by clicking this. So if you want to add more gap, a horizontal gap between your elements, what you can do is you can change the value right here. So I'm going to give it 20. So it will add some gap between my elements, a uniform gap. So add some value there. Make sure you have your auto layout horizontally. So you have to click horizontal layout arrow, not vertical, not the first arrow from top to bottom, the arrow from left to right. You have to click on that. Let's see. Good. Right. All right. Now select the row in your board already that you have created, and let's give it a different color, the fill color. I'm going to give it lighter green. It's called. The uppermost element in your screens, in your uh, designs. So make sure you give a background color to row, not to the design element squares, to row itself. So I will do it again. I select the row I already created and I scroll down and there's option called fill and you can select the fill color from here. So I selected this green color as my fill color for the row, not for the squares inside. Okay, Sasanka is good. And Jeremy, you have to give the fill color for your row to different color than your squares itself. All right. Fatima is also done. And Chamara is also good. Ratnasekara, you have to give the fill color to your row.
Excuse me. How do we undo?
Sorry,
How do we undo?
undo.
Yeah, if we want to.
Okay, who is this? Sasanka.
Yes.
Okay, undo, you can follow Control plus C, Command plus C, But right now, don't try to undo because it will undo other people's designs as well. So make
Okay.
sure, yeah.
Noted.
So when you normally do design, try control plus Z. Okay, everyone, designs looks good. Okay, now select your row again. Now we are trying to make it responsive. So that is the purpose of having this. So you have a wrap icon here, like wrap arrow key. Can you see my design layout? Can you see my screen? Right here,
Yes.
we have option called wrap. So you have to click on that. Click on that wrap icon. Okay, run. Now if you change the size of your row, see my design again, see my screen again, cursor. So if you change the size of your row, it will change the, will take the size of your outermost element and change the layout inside accordingly. So you can see if it don't have much space on horizontally, it will change it to this kind of layout. And further it has more size on, more space on horizontal axis, it will uh, adapt the screen size that whatever you are changing. So you can see right here. So you can use this kind of layout when you are doing responsive design for your layouts, for your UX.
Sorry, it's not working
Yeah.
for me.
Okay.
Sure, why.
Okay. Let me see. You selected this. Okay, you have a frame inside another row. So that is why. So I'm going to do, I'm going to take this and put them inside here. This, now try it yourself.
All right, thanks.
Okay. So always make sure don't have a row inside another row. So you only have to have two sizes. So if your outermost element is row, there should be only one element inside that. So we have 4 squares. So don't make them within another frame or a row. So it will lose control otherwise. So we have this here. Now let's try to create a design. So let's so that is how we can create auto layout and make frames and components responsive. All right, now we have components. Okay, now let's try to make components. So everyone try to create a new board for yourself. So I will create boards for everyone here. I'm going to create a phone layout this time and write large. This is for Sasanka. And this is for Charmer. This is for Sacred. This is for Jerome. This is for Luksha. All right, now we have our layout. So I will create a layout for myself as well. Now what we are going to do is we're going to create a component. So in order to create a component, what we need is, let's say I'm going to create a sticker component which consists of image and a text and a paragraph. So what we can do is we first have to create a frame for our design. Well, let's create the typography first. So we have a text element. So click on this text icon here and create a square by using that, like this. So I'm going to go to websites such as Lorem Ipsum. Lorem Ipsum is where we can generate some dummy text. If we don't have content ready for our website or whatever, we can create content by going to Lorem Ipsum website and create some dummy text, dummy content. So I'm going to copy this dummy content from Lorem Ipsum website and paste it as my paragraph right here. You can do the same thing. So this is the link that you can follow. Okay, Sasanka, good. Chamar, good. Ratnasekara. Click on text tool here, follow my screen, and draw a text box like this and paste the code that you are getting from the link I pasted on Zoom chat. Ruksha also do the same. Okay, let me do it again. Follow my screen. Click on this text icon here and draw a text box right here. That is where we're going to put our text, and go to a Lorem Ipsum site or whatever the site that you prefer to copy some text content and paste it here. It will show up like this. All right. So is everything clear? Okay, after you create your text component, make sure you move it to the middle of the screen because we are going to put an image on top now. So in order to put an image, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another frame. So create a frame, give it a size of 300 by 200. So the width should be 300, height should be 200 pixels. Should be a frame, not a rectangle. So let me do it again. Go to frame here. and create a frame and change the width and height. So width should be 300, height should be 200. And give it a background color so we can see it properly. All right. Now make sure your text element also have the same width, the 300 pixels. Otherwise, it won't align properly. Okay, once you've done that, once you create your rectangle or the frame on top, go to Google and grab some images. Like grab one image. I'm going to uh, get a landscape image. Let me take this one and click on the image and copy it. Select copy image like this. Then select your frame and paste it there. So I'm going to paste here. Select the image from Google first and click on it and click copy image from browser. Then come back to your screen and select your placeholder that you already created for the image on top of the paragraph and paste here like this. You can change the size. It is a high resolution one. So if it is too big for your square, what you can do is let's follow my screen. So how you can do is now I'm pasting this. So it is too little bit too big for my screen. So what we can do is go to fill settings on properties, right hand side, and then click on fit. So it will fit the screen accordingly. So I'm going to move my other image I just pasted. Sasanka good, Ratnasekara, Jeremy is also good, Ruksha is also good. Okay, Chamara, can you paste an image on your frame? You have to copy it to your clipboard by clicking on copy um, on your image like this. Then come to your board, click on paste. Paste here. Okay, next thing our design need is a button. All right, now let's create a button. In order to create a button, what you have to do is first create a text element. So click on text again and don't draw a text box right now. Just click on your frame and add a button. Let's say the button label should be read more. So I'm going to add read more like this. What I did was I click on this text icon and I didn't draw any text box in this situation. I just click on my board and typed read more like this. And let's change that read more text font size to 20 pixels. Ruksha, can you type read more? Don't draw a text box, just click and type. Yeah, good. Now change the font size to 20 pixels. Sasanka is good, Charmer is good, Circle good, Jeremy. Font size should be 20. Ruksha, can you change the font size to 20 pixels as well? So it is under text properties right here. Okay, so after you create the read more text and change the font size to 20, right click on it and select frame selection. And let's call that frame, let's rename that frame to button like this. Okay, now let's add some background color to it so it will be easily visible. So I'm going to add this color and I'm going to change the font color to white as well. You can see now it's like some padding. So in order to add some padding, what we can do is click on auto layout on right hand side properties as we did earlier, auto layout. And under auto layout, there are options to add horizontal padding. So right here, we can add horizontal padding. I'm going to give it 20 as horizontal padding. And vertical padding, I'm going to give it 10. So my button will look like this. Okay. If you want to like center align it within the frame, select your button and there's an option on right hand side top called align horizontal centers. I'm hovering over it right now on my screen. So click on that. So it will align your button to the center of your frame. Okay, now we have created image, text, and the button. So let's give some border radius to button as well. So right now, all the edges are square. So in order to give border radius, we have option here, corner radius. So I'm going to change it to 10, like this. So now the button has some border radius. Now, I think you already noticed now, I put the text inside the frame. So the reason I did that was, now let's say you want to do another button or you want to change the content inside the button. So if you change the content, let's say I'm going to change the content to sign up. So it will change the size of the button accordingly. So it is actually responsive. So if you don't have any text, so whatever the text you put, the button will accommodate it by resizing its size. So it is responsive button. So in order to create a responsive button, you have to put the text inside a frame. So I'm going to put read more again in here. So this is the button we have. All right. Now, what we can do is select all three of these, the image, the paragraph, and the button. Select all three and put them inside a frame again. Select frame selection. Let's call it a card, CARD. And give it a background color as well. Select image, paragraph, and button, and create a frame and rename it as card, and change the background color of it as well. Now you can see the text and the image is not properly aligned. It is going, text is going from edge to edge on horizontal axis. So in order to make it look more pleasant, what we can do is we can go to auto layout again. And add some horizontal padding. I'm going to give it 30. So it will look like this. Let's give it 10 because our main element is a little bit too small. Screen size. And the vertical padding is also 10. So it will look like this. Give horizontal padding 10 and vertical padding also 10. Okay. Now you can see there's a value here. The vertical gap between elements. That is the gap between our image and the paragraph and the but. So you can change its value and make it something lesser. So let's say I'm going to give it 10 as well. Ruksha, can you see the value I'm mentioning on right hand side properties? Your value is 62. You can make it something around 10. Under auto layout, vertical gap between items. Yeah, looking good. And change your button background color to something else because your background color and the button background color are the same. And what about Jerome? Jerome, there was a additional frame that was on your design, so I hide it, so that is why it got fixed.
Okay.
Okay, everyone else looks good. So now we have this component right here. Now let's that this card right here. So in order to make it a component, what we can do is, let's say we have this, let's copy it. So what we can do is Control plus D to duplicate it. Now we have two different cards like this. You can take it out from your board as well if you like.
So excuse me, I accidentally pressed something. I think something called grid or something. I
Who
don't know
is
how to
this?
undo it. Camera
Shyam. Okay.
layout has changed.
Yeah. It's gone. Let's give it again. Okay. So what I did was I changed the size of your paragraph so it will
Okay.
match the height of your content. And then there was an option that you switched on called fixed height. So it should not be fixed height, hug content, which means it will change the size of the height of your container according to the content inside it. So make sure to put that on.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this the lighter version of our design and make this the darker version. So next week we are going to talk about in detail about how we create a button and how we create different button status. So for now, as a simple exercise, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this the card light version and this one card dark version. So in dark version, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the background color of this to something closer to black, and then the text color to white. And I'm going to keep everything else as the same. Just like this. Okay, now select both of them that you created, card light and card dark version. Make sure to change colors, otherwise it won't show up in your component. The change won't show up. Two different color backgrounds should be there. At least some differences should be there. Next color should be white or something lighter. All right, cool. Now select both of them, the light version and dark version, both cards. So on your top toolbar in the middle, we have an option called Create Component Set. Right here. So Create Component Set. Click on that. So it will create a component. So I will rename my component as Savinder card. So it will be easy for me to identify what my card is. So inside this card, we have properties. Property one called card like this. Card dark, card light. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a Boolean value. So in order to give a Boolean value, what you have to do, let's say we have these two cards. I'm going to change the property to something else. So let's say, so is everyone the same place? Okay, cool. So select the component you created, and there's an option called properties. Click the plus icon next to it. There's an option called Boolean. Click on that. So I'm going to rename it as dark mode, true or false. First one, dark mode false. The second one, dark mode true. So now if you go to assets section.
Excuse me, can you do it again? Kindly?
Yeah. So do it again. So if I go here, there's an option called create component property. Click on that and select Boolean from here and rename this to dark mode, and there's values true or false. So create property and select that. Let me see. Card. Now, if you go to assets, it will display all the assets that you already created. So I'm going to click and drag. So it will show the how many instances, how many variants this card have. Right now, my one has 2. So I'm going to click and drag it right here. So I can toggle between dark and light mode like this. You can see. So let me come to everyone else's cards as well. Let's see Sasanka's card. Okay. Sasanka, can you remove the first property from your card? Property 1, click on minus icon and delete property. You can see it on my screen. Right here. Now in the dark.
It's not working though. Try to remove it, but
Okay, give me a second. Okay, you have created each of these cards. So you can see now in my design, I have 2 card elements only. In your one, you have card as a different element, the paragraph as a different one, and so on. So that is what the issue. So let me try to so the only issues we can't undo here. So I will come back to your card 1 second. Let's see.
sure, no problem.
Charmer. All right. Charmer's design, we have button. Okay. Your one is also kind of same. See this one. Okay. Uh, In Ruksha's card, I think yeah, like the dark mode. Edit. What is already there? And the first one. Jeremy. Okay, let me create another one so you can follow the same thing and make corrections to your designs. Because I think I did it a little faster. Some of you have made mistakes. So what I did was first I created the paragraph. So paragraph creation is something like this. You put the text element on your screen and I give it the width of 300 and height. I'm going to keep it as it is. And then go to lorem ipsum text right here and pasted the text. So this is the text element that we require. I'm going to change the size like this. So now we have the text element. So now what we need is an image element. So in order to create an image element, I create a frame. So the width should be 300 and the height should be 200 as I mentioned earlier. So here our text and this is the image. So for the follow up, I'm going to name it as image. Then I'm going to look for an image on Google. Let's say I'm going to take this one, copy image and paste it here. So it will be little bit bigger than it initially was. So we have image and the text element. Now we require a button. So in order to create a button, I'm not going to draw a text box. I'm going to just click on this and add a read more here. Change the font size to 20. Now we have read more icon as well. And then I'm going to put it inside a frame. Call it a button. Okay. Now let's give it a background color and change the font size to white as well. So in order to give button more padding, what I did was I click on this auto layout and add some padding. 20 pixels for horizontal, 10 for vertical. So now our button looks like this. Then I added some border radius as well, 10 pixels. Okay, now all our elements are already created. So what I did was I selected all three, image, paragraph, and the button, then put it inside a frame. Click on frame selection. And I renamed it as card. Renaming it as card name. So the card is there. Now we have card component. So now what we need is we need to create another card with that black color background. So right now this one don't have any background color. So I'm going to give it a background color as well. And maybe some padding. 10, 10. And this is also 10, the value we gave earlier. So this is how it's look like right now, the lighter version. And I'm going to create a dark version as well. So I'm going to rename this as light and this as dark. Okay. Now I'm going to change the background color of this to black and text color to white. All right, now we have two elements already created, two cards. So select both of these cards and go here and select create component set. Now we have properties right here. So what we can do is we can delete this property and add Boolean values right here. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the property of this. So dark mode. So we have two properties. This one, dark mode true, dark mode false, which is light mode. This one, dark mode true. Okay. Now we have component here and properties are dark mode, which can be true or false. Guys, don't make any changes. Just follow what I'm already doing. Might have to do this again. Okay, I'm going to do it one more time in different file. We have this one here. Then I'm going to add another frame. rename it as image. Put an image in here. Change the image size. Then create a button. Read. Okay. Change the font size to 20. Frame it. Name it as button. Put a background color. Some padding. 20 and 10. Add some border radius as well. 10. All right. Now we have one of our designs. So put it inside a frame again. The fill. Text color should be black. This version. This is our design. Now I'm going to call this card. Going to create another one. Call this one light. This one is dark. Background color should be black. The text color is white. Okay, we have two versions now. So I'm selecting both of them and create component set. Now we have our cards component with two variants. The property one is dark, property two is light. I'm going to rename this as dark mode. And this one, I'm going to add a Boolean value, which is false. This one, true. Okay, now we have our card component created. Now, if I go to my assets section, I have my card right here. It has two instant variants. So if I paste it anywhere in my design, I have properties. I have toggle button to change between the dark and light versions. So I want you to change your designs and follow the video recording. So the last video recording will be easier because the previous one I just did, I think someone tracked the controls of the design file. So that is why I opened a new design file and created a new one. I will share the link of this one as well. So you can change your designs and make sure it has an asset that you can change these dark and light modes. So next week we are going to discuss about how we can create a design system by creating different buttons, buttons with different status, such as we have buttons for idle state, like just be there. And when mouse over, the button color will be changed. And when users click on that, it can be behaving differently. So those are the things that we are going to discuss, and we are going to discuss how to create animations and hovering effect and even prototypes using Figma in next week. So the components, variants, responsive design. So variance and responsive design, I'm going to talk about in detail when we start our session next week as well. So any questions so far?